Hey! If you're not a native English speaker, then I guess you'll be able to relate to this video a lot. I just wanted to talk about the struggles of people who learn English and have to use it on daily basis, and how many problems, see? And how many problems we meet every day while trying to communicate with other people in English. Starting off, I feel like the biggest problem is the grammar. At least for me it was, and I know for many people it is as well. For example, the tense. There's like one tense that's called present perfect, which I've always struggled with, and I know many people struggle with while learning English. It's still kind of like magic for me how to use it. I still have many problems with it. Especially because in my native language, which is Polish, we don't have that tense, at least as far as I'm concerned. We don't have it. And I know for many Poles that start learning English, it's a huge problem. The way they would explain it to me at school, because I've been learning English for about 12 years now, I think. And I learned that tense back in primary school. And the way they would explain it to me is that you use it when you want to talk about an action that happened in the past, but it has an influence on the present. And what? It kind of makes sense, but how do I use it in a sentence? I am very confused by the tense, and honestly the only way I learned it is by like watching YouTube videos in English or watching films in English, because it was completely ununderstandable for me. Ununderstandable? Is that even a word? Oh my god. Not to mention past perfect, which was even more difficult for me. I still don't know how to use it. I think I speak English pretty well, but that tense is ridiculously difficult for me. I still don't know how to use it because it's supposed to describe actions that happened in the past but already finished, but they still have like an influence on now, but they finished in the past, but right now. What? The other thing that was a huge problem for me was when to use a and the. And I know it's a thing in many other languages, like for example German or Spanish. It is an actual thing. So for like German or Spanish speakers, it's probably easy. In Polish, we don't have that, so it was very difficult for me to learn when to use a or when to use the, because it was just ridiculous for me. Like, why would you use that? Why would you need that thing before a noun? That makes no sense. Eventually, I learned by like watching films or, as I said before, YouTube videos, because that really gave me a lot. They taught me that at school. But obviously the best way, at least for me, to learn a language is to listen to it the way it's spoken naturally, I suppose. Because without it, I would still have problems with a and the, because for me it makes zero sense. Zero. I sometimes give extra classes to children from English, and it's very difficult for them to understand that. And when I try to explain it to them, it mixes up in my head and I'm like, what even is that? What is the language? What am I speaking? For me and for many other Poles, it's a very complicated thing to understand. It is pretty easy to understand once you get more into the language, but at like first times it's very difficult. The other thing that causes me lots of trouble, it has been, and it still is, and it will always be causing problems for me, I suppose, is expressing my feelings when I don't have the right vocabulary. Obviously, English has a whole variety of vocabulary that you could use to express your emotions and your feelings, but sometimes there's that one word in your native language that you want to use, but it doesn't have an English equivalent, and that's where the problems begin. It's very, very frustrating, at least for me, whenever I speak to someone in English, and there's the one word I want to use, but I just don't know how to say it in English because it just doesn't exist in English. And it's very annoying for me because then I have to use a different word that doesn't fully mean the same thing, that doesn't really give away what I'm actually feeling, what I actually want to say. I suppose if you're not a native English speaker, you could relate to that because it's very annoying for me. And even Google Translate can help me with that. The other thing is accents. Now, many people tell me that my accent sounds American, even though I never meant it to. I just never really had like an accent that I wanted to have. I just speak how it's easier for me. For example, It might sound American right now, but if I had the word vase, I would pronounce it vase, not vase, because that's what they told me at school. So I suppose I just have my own accent. I don't know. Obviously there's many different English accents, like the English English, the American English, Australian English. There's many different accents, and even in the Great Britain itself there's so many different accents. The one I learned at school, I was learning at school, I didn't actually learn it because I'm not using it. It's the one they use in England on the south, like the BBC one as they call it. That's the one that teachers use, and I think it's really gorgeous, but it's just difficult for me to use, so I just used the one that's easier for me. But sometimes, I remember there was the one time I went to London, I was talking to people and I understood nothing of that, and it was in London, so I should have understood something. Did I use the correct tense? I don't know. Since I learned it at school, I thought it would be easy for me to understand, and it wasn't. I think they realized that I wasn't really from England. I guess they could have seen from my face because I was just terrified. I understood nothing and I thought my English was good. But, well, maybe now it will be different. I don't know. It was like, what, 5 years ago or so? Nah, maybe less, like 3. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But then I remember when I was in Sheffield with my friends last year and we asked one guy for directions because we didn't know how to get to one spot, doesn't matter. And his accent was very understandable, even though you would think that in Sheffield it will be more complicated. But his accent was so easy to understand, at least for me. Maybe because I listened to lots of bands from there, or just like listen to the accent itself. I don't know, but it was just so much easier to understand. But still, sometimes accents cause me lots of trouble, especially when I watch like some YouTube videos. And obviously native speakers speak very quickly, as for example I do in Polish and you do in your native language. And that is completely just not understandable. If I don't understand something, I just, you know, pick up some random words to understand it from the context, I suppose. So that's how I use English. Well, the other thing is pronunciation. That. Back in middle school, my teacher would really push us to pronounce the words correctly, I suppose. There's the one word, comfortable, right? I don't know if it's pronounced the same way in American, I suppose. I sometimes hear people say comfortable. The way they taught me is to pronounce it comfortable, and that makes zero sense for me. Because the way it's written, it should be read comfortable, right? So why is it comfortable? I really don't understand. Or the word history. It should be history, right? Like history, but it's read history. Why? I might be just very annoying about that right now, because I know in many different languages you pronounce words differently than it's written, but again, I think it's just like a thing for Poles, because in Polish, when you have a word, you read it exactly as it is. Why? Like, I really don't understand it. Or for example, I never really paid too much attention to the word family. I would pronounce it family, something like that. And my teacher would always tell me, no, Agata, it's family. I think those are the main things that cause me the most trouble in English. I use it on an everyday basis, but I still struggle with it so much, and I'm still trying to improve it as much as possible, to learn new vocabulary, to just listen to it, to use it, and to use the correct grammar. But it's just difficult when you don't really live in the country, and the only way for you to experience the language is by speaking to other people. That's why I really love the internet, because it really gives me lots of opportunities to learn English and to improve it. And this is why I started my YouTube channel in English, not in Polish, because I wanted to improve my language and meet people from all over the world, and just use the fact that I know English. And I think it's really amazing that just by knowing that one language you can communicate with pretty much the rest of the world. I think it's really amazing, and English is obviously a very beautiful language, and I love it. I spent so many years learning it and just being super passionate about it. I'm still passionate about it, not as much as I used to, but I still think English is an amazing language, and I would still be happy if someone gave me an English dictionary. Don't judge me, but like if I got an English dictionary as a present, I would be super happy. I might be like a nerd right now, and I'm not complaining. I am a total nerd most of the time. Like I'm not gonna pretend that I'm not, but I would really be happy to get an English dictionary, and a Spanish one as well. Seriously, for Christmas I asked my mom to give me a Spanish dictionary. Let me know if you have the same problems as I do. Maybe it's just me being completely weird, I don't know. But tell me if you struggle with the same things as I do, or if I missed out on some things. There's definitely a few things I left out, I forgot about. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was literally just me ranting about English. And I've noticed that my channel recently has been really about languages, which I don't mind. I think it's a good way to go with, because languages is something I'm passionate about, or something I'm interested about. So I think I'm gonna go with it, for now at least. And if you have any ideas or videos that you would like to see me do, then tell me. And I'll go now because my camera is running out of memory again. How great. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!